Thank you for subscribing to me. So imagine for a moment that you are furiously scrubbing your computer monitor with a physical rubber eraser.
Like a standard pencil eraser.
Exactly. You're rubbing so hard, your arm aches, you know? You're leaving these massive smudges all over the glass, and you are getting incredibly frustrated because the typo in the document you're looking at simply will not go away.
Right. I mean, anyone watching you would think you'd completely lost your mind.
They really would. They tell you to stop scratching the screen, reach down, and just type the correction on the keyboard.
It sounds totally absurd when you visualize it like that. I mean, the idea of attacking a piece of glass to change digital text is, it's comical.
It is comical. But, and here's the hook, according to the material we are unpacking today, that is precisely how almost every single one of us is living our lives.
Wow. Yeah, that hits hard.
Right. We are furiously rubbing the monitor of our physical reality. We're exhausting ourselves trying to force our bank accounts, our relationships, our health to change, while completely ignoring the fact that we have access to the keyboard.
We're totally ignoring the source.
Exactly. So our mission for today's deep dive is to explore an entirely different way of operating. We're looking at a book called The 12 Powers of Manifestation by Raymond Samson, which builds heavily on the mid-20th century teachings of the mystic Neville Goddard.
And we should probably clarify up front, this isn't about positive thinking or like making a colorful vision board.
No, definitely not.
The teachings of Neville Goddard and Samson's synthesis of them represent a radical ground-up demolition of how we understand cause and effect.
It's a total paradigm shift.
It really is. It's about understanding the actual underlying mechanics of reality so you can, stop fighting the reflection in the mirror and start changing the source.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because changing the quote-unquote source of reality sounds like a massive promise to make to the listener.
It's a huge promise.
To even approach this, the book lays out a foundational rule. It's this hard dividing line between what it calls the invisible reality and the visible world.
Right, the core distinction.
I need you to break that down for me, because invisible reality sounds a bit like, I don't know, an esoteric fantasy. What are we actually talking about here?
Well, let's ground it in something practical. Think about the chair you might be sitting in right now.
Okay, a normal physical chair.
Right. Before it was a physical object made of wood and fabric, the visible world, it was an invisible concept in a designer's mind.
Like a blueprint or just an idea?
Exactly. The physical chair is simply the delayed echo of an invisible thought.
A delayed echo. I like that phrasing.
And according to the framework in Samson's book, this isn't just true for manufactured goods, It's the fundamental law of the entire universe.
So it applies to literally everything.
Everything. Your consciousness, your internal landscape of thoughts, assumptions, and deeply held feelings. That is the invisible reality.
Yeah.
And the book argues that this invisible realm is the sole cause of everything.
So to use the computer analogy again, consciousness is the underlying code, and the visible world, our 3D reality, is just the monitor displaying that code.
I would actually take it a step further. The visible world is essentially a 3D printout.
Oh, a 3D printout. Okay, explain that.
Well, when a 3D printer spits out a plastic object with a structural flaw, you don't blame the plastic, right?
Right, you don't yell at the plastic.
Exactly, and you don't try to bend the rigid plastic with your bare hands. You go back into the software, the invisible code, and you alter the geometry there.
That makes perfect sense.
So the material world is basically a dense, delayed printout of humanity's collective and individual consciousness.
I'm tracking with the 3D printout concept, but if it's that simple, why is human history characterized by so much struggle?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right, like if we are all printing our reality, why are we printing poverty, disease, and conflict?
What's fascinating here is how the text addresses that exact question by introducing what it calls the law of order.
The law order.
Yeah. The law of order dictates how reality is actually generated, and the sequence must always be being, then doing, then having.
Being, doing, having. Okay.
But look at the modern world. Look at hustle culture. We are taught the exact reverse. We are taught do, have, be.
Oh, I see that completely. The societal narrative is basically, I need to work 80 hours a week, which is the doing, so I can secure a massive salary in a huge house, which is the having, so that finally, one day, I can relax and be happy.
Exactly. We put being at the very end of the finish line.
Which is completely backwards, according to this.
And that is the trap. Because if your internal state of being is, I am stressed, I am lacking, I am desperate for success, then the invisible code you are typing into the universe is stress, lack, and desperation.
So the universe just prints more of that.
You can work yourself to the bone in the physical world, furiously revving the monitor, but the 3D printer will only ever give you circumstances that match your state of being.
You'll just manifest stressful jobs and fleeting wealth that causes you anxiety.
And relationships that feel like a struggle, yeah.
Yeah.
The source material insists you must be first. You must internally embody the identity of the person who already has the desire before you lift a single finger in the physical world.
You know, this actually reminds me of an actor preparing for a role.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Yeah, like you don't just put on the costume and hope you suddenly feel like the king. You have to internally adopt the psychology, the posture, the feeling of the king first.
Right.
And then the external actions flow naturally from that internal state of being.
That is a wonderful parallel. And to give this some intellectual weight, the book brings in the work of quantum physicist David Bohm.
Okay, physics. This is where the mysticism actually begins to overlap with theoretical physics, right? I am somewhat familiar with quantum mechanics, but who is David Bohm, and how does he fit into a book about manifestation?
So David Bohm was one of the most significant theoretical physicists of the 20th century. He was actually a protege of Einstein.
Oh, wow. Okay. Not just anybody, then.
No, a heavy hitter.
Okay.
Bohm proposed that the universe functions essentially like a giant flowing hologram. And he used two terms that are crucial here, the implicate order and the explicate order.
Implicate and explicate. Walk me through the difference.
Imagine a piece of paper that has been folded up tightly into a tiny, dense square.
Okay, I got it.
That is the implicate order. Everything is enfolded, hidden, and deeply interconnected in an invisible state.
So that's the underlying code.
Right. Now imagine unfolding that paper to reveal a massive, complex drawing. That is the explicate order. It is unfolded, manifested, and visible.
So our consciousness, our internal state of being, is the folded up implicate order.
Yes.
And my morning commute, my bank statement, the physical things I interact with, that's the explicate order.
It's exactly the dynamic. Bohm's theory suggests that the physical world is constantly unfolding out of the unseen implicate order and then folding back into it.
It's a constant loop.
It is. And the profound error humanity makes is trying to permanently alter the explicate order while standing inside of it, without ever addressing the hidden implicate source.
We try to rearrange the unfolded paper, but the folds are already established.
That's it perfectly. Taking physical action, outer action, without first shifting your inner consciousness is completely futile.
Because you are just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. You aren't actually changing the trajectory of the ship.
Yeah. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the source material references Dr. David Hawkins to explain why our collective trajectory looks the way it does.
Hawkins. He developed a framework.
Yes, a fascinating framework known as the map of consciousness, which attempts to calibrate the frequency of different human emotions.
I have heard of this scale. It ranges from 0 to 1,000, correct?
That's the one.
But I don't fully understand the mechanics behind it. How does an emotion have a numerical calibration?
Well, Hawkins spent decades using applied kinesiology, basically muscle testing, to measure the energetic response of the human body to various stimuli, thoughts, and emotional states.
Muscle testing, really?
Yeah. He concluded that human consciousness is not a vague qualitative thing. It actually has a measurable logarithmic frequency.
Logarithmic, so it ramps up quickly.
Right. It isn't a linear scale.
Yeah.
A small jump in numbers represents a massive leap in energetic power.
Okay, so where do the everyday emotions land on this scale?
The critical inflection point on Hawkins' scale is the level of 200.
200. What happens there?
Below 200, consciousness is driven by force, contraction, and falsehood. At the very bottom, you have shame and guilt moving up through apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, and pride.
Wow, so all the heavy stuff.
Exactly. All of these states are fundamentally rooted in a perception of lack and separation.
Meaning, if I am feeling fear or anger, I am operating from a baseline belief that the world is a hostile place, and I am separate from whatever I need to survive.
Yes, perfectly stated. Now, above 200, consciousness expands into power and truth.
Okay, so what's up there?
It starts with courage, which is the willingness to face reality, and moves up through acceptance, reason, love, joy, and peace.
And the sobering part of the source text is its observation about humanity as a whole, right?
Right.
Where does the average person calibrate?
The book points out that the collective consciousness of humanity has historically operated, and largely still operates, below that 200 level.
Really? Below 200?
Yes, the collective average is basically mired in fear, desire, anger, and pride.
Which answers my earlier question perfectly. If the invisible reality, the implicate order, the underlying code is collectively humming at the frequency of fear and lack,
Right.
then the 3D printer has absolutely no choice but to print out a global landscape of conflict, poverty, and anxiety. We are getting exactly what we are broadcasting.
We are. And that realization is the gateway to personal liberation.
Because you realize you have control.
Exactly. If you want to experience a life of joy, wealth, or profound peace, you cannot wait for the 3D printer to hand it to you so you can finally feel good.
You can't wait for the outside to change the inside.
Right. You have to individually elevate your consciousness above 200. You have to reprogram the code.
Okay, I am entirely on board with the concept. The monitor needs a new input from the keyboard.
Yes.
But if we are the ones sitting at the keyboard, we have to talk about the person doing the typing.
Ah, yes. The typist.
Because, I have tried to change my mindset before. I have told myself, I am going to be calm and confident today. And within 10 minutes of sitting in traffic, I am back to my anxious self.
It happens to all of us.
Right. The identity of the typist seems incredibly stubborn.
That stubbornly anxious self is what the source material calls the false ego. And to override it, we have to strip it completely bare.
Strip it bare?
Well, the text introduces the power of the command, which is anchored in the presence of I am.
I am. Just two incredibly simple words, but the book treats them with intense reverence. It positions I am as the ultimate creative force.
Neville Goddard's work relies heavily on esoteric interpretations of biblical texts. He didn't view the Bible as a record of secular history,
He viewed it as psychological, right?
Yes, as an intricate psychological map of the human mind. So when Moses encounters the burning bush and asks for the name of the divine creator, the answer isn't a human name. The answer is I am that I am.
That's a profound shift in perspective.
Goddard argues that this isn't a deity in the sky talking. It is a revelation of the core mechanism of human consciousness. I am is the foundational state of unconditioned awareness.
Unconditioned awareness, meaning before I'm anything specific, I simply exist.
Yes. Think about the moment you first wake up in the morning before your brain has fully loaded your daily schedule, your anxieties, your name, or your problems.
Oh, I love that moment.
There is a split second where you are just pure floating awareness. You just are.
Yeah.
That is the unconditioned I am.
But that split second vanishes so quickly. My brain immediately boots up and says, I am late for work. I am stressed about my mortgage. I am someone who struggles with my weight.
The programming kicks in.
Exactly. I take that pure awareness and I start slapping all these heavy labels onto it.
And those labels construct the false ego. The false ego is your name, your cultural background, your financial history, and most importantly, your past traumas and perceived limitations.
It's like a suit of armor.
It is a dense suit of psychological armor. And the tragedy is we forget we are the awareness wearing the armor. We think we actually are the armor.
So when I try to casually tell myself, I am going to be confident today, the reason it doesn't work is because I am trying to paint a fresh coat of confidence over a rusted, crumbling suit of armor.
You can't just paint over it.
Right. The old identity, the false ego, rejects the new command because it contradicts the established programming.
You're seeing the underlying architecture of the problem now. If your core identity is deeply entangled with the belief that you are someone who struggles financially, you cannot just whisper, I am a millionaire, on your drive to work and expect reality to bend.
Because I don't actually believe it.
Right. The subconscious mind, which runs the 3D printer, knows you don't believe it.
Then how do we format the hard drive? How do we actually utilize this I am power?
Through a process of self-unidentification.
Self-unidentification. Okay.
Before you can attach a new reality to your awareness, you must mentally strip away the false ego. In meditation or deep reflection, you have to systematically drop the labels.
Drop the label.
You drop your name. You drop your history. You drop your physical body. You retreat inward until you reach that silent void of simply existing, pure, formless awareness.
That sounds challenging but necessary.
It is. Only when you reach that blank slate, the pure I am, can you intentionally attach a new condition to it, such as I am secure or I am healthy.
I hear what you're saying, but I have to play devil's advocate here, because this is where my own skepticism flares up, and I know you listening right now are likely feeling it too.
Let's hear it.
Oh, okay, let's do a thought experiment. Let's pretend I am sitting in a cold, sterile doctor's office. I'm sitting on that crinkly paper on the exam table, and I am waiting for test results that I am terrified of.
A very real scenario.
Right. The physical reality of sickness is screaming at me. Every sense I have is focused on fear and physical vulnerability. How on earth am I supposed to sit there and claim I am healthy?
It feels impossible.
Doesn't that cross the line from spiritual practice into sheer delusion? I mean, I am literally lying to myself.
That is the ultimate crucible for this philosophy. It really is the most challenging aspect of Goddard's teachings, and it requires a complete fracturing of how we view truth.
Okay.
Are you lying to yourself?
Yeah.
Only if you believe the physical world is the ultimate truth.
Which, as we established earlier, the physical world is just the echo.
Exactly. I mean, consider this deeply. The physical senses, your eyes looking at the doctor's charts, your skin feeling the cold air of the exam room, your body feeling pain, what are they actually doing?
They're gathering information.
They're reporting data. But where is that data coming from? It is coming from the explicate order. It is the 3D printout. Therefore, your senses are only ever reporting on the past.
The past. Even though it's happening right now in my body, it's the result of old code.
Yes. Look at the night sky. When you see a star shimmering, you're not seeing the star as it exists in this exact second.
Right, because of the speed of light.
You are seeing light that was emitted millions of years ago, which has finally traveled across the universe to hit your retina. If that star exploded and died 1,000 years ago, you would still see it shining brightly tonight.
Wow.
You were literally looking at a ghost. You were looking at dead light.
That is a staggering analogy. My current physical circumstances, my bank account, even a medical diagnosis are just the dead light of my past states of consciousness.
That is exactly what the source material argues. So when you sit in that doctor's office and obsessively focus on the fear and the physical symptoms, what are you doing?
I'm focusing on the dead light.
You are taking the dead light, the old echo, and feeding it directly back into the microphone of your consciousness. You are programming the 3D printer to print more sickness because you are letting the illusion of the past dictate your present I am.
I am basically trapped in a feedback loop.
To break the loop, you have to perform an act of radical detachment. You must deliberately ignore the evidence of your physical senses.
Turn away from the monitor.
Yes. You close your eyes to the explicit order, you retreat to the implicate order, and you command the I am to be healthy. You aren't lying to the physical world. You are simply turning your back on it to write new code.
You're seeding a new reality.
You're seeding a living reality in the invisible realm, which the physical world will eventually be compelled to display.
But that requires an iron will. I mean, it means standing in the middle of a storm and genuinely believing you are standing in sunshine until the weather catches up to your mind.
It is the ultimate test of psychological discipline. And this discipline naturally highlights the friction between two very popular modern concepts.
Oh, right. We need to talk about this.
This brings us to the distinction between the law of attraction, which most people are familiar with, and the law of assumption, which is the core of Goddard's teachings.
I definitely want to dig into this because the cultural zeitgeist uses these terms interchangeably.
They do, all the time.
People think manifesting is just cutting out pictures of sports cars and gluing them to a poster board. But the text draws a very aggressive, thick line separating attraction and assumption.
The book provides a very detailed comparison. And the differences aren't just semantic. They are functionally opposite approaches to reality creation.
Okay, let's look at the law of attraction first. How is it typically practiced?
From what we observe culturally, the law of attraction is deeply focused on desire. It's all about wanting. You identify what you want, you visualize it coming toward you, and you try to keep your vibration high so that the universe will deliver it to you.
It feels like you are a magnet trying to pull an external object across a room.
That analysis highlights the fatal flaw in the law of attraction framework. It is passive. It relies on appealing to an outside power, some vaguely defined universe, and fundamentally, it centers on the ego operating from a state of lack.
You know, I was struggling to understand why wanting something is considered lack, but I think I just hit an aha moment.
Let's hear it.
If I am sitting down to do my manifestation journal and I write, "Universe, please send me a new car," I am inherently confessing to the invisible reality that I do not currently have a car.
I couldn't have phrased it better myself.
Yeah.
The psychological state of desiring something is the exact opposite of the psychological state of having something.
Wow, yeah.
If consciousness is the only reality, and your consciousness is broadcasting, I want a car, what does the faithful 3D printer do?
It prints a reality where I continue to want a car. It literally manifests the state of yearning. I'm just creating more distance between myself and the object.
You manifest a perpetual state of chasing. Now, contrast that with the law of assumption. Assumption is intensely active.
How so?
It does not look to an outside power. It
Okay.
doesn't ask the universe for a favor. It recognizes that the divine creator is the I am within your own skull.
You are the source.
Therefore, you do not ask, you claim. You do not desire the end result. You actively assume the feeling of the wish as an already accomplished fact.
Here's where it gets really interesting because the contrast between those two is like night and day.
It really is.
The law of attraction is essentially writing a letter to Santa Claus. You make your list, you send it up the chimney, and you sit around hoping you've been good enough or your vibration has been high enough for a benevolent external force to bestow a gift upon you.
And if the gift doesn't arrive, the ego spirals into guilt. I must have had a negative thought. I must have ruined my vibration.
Yes. But the law of assumption is waking up and realizing you are Santa Claus.
I love that.
Furthermore, you own the entire toy factory. You don't write a letter begging for a toy. You just walk onto the factory floor, look at the inventory, point to the item and say, that belongs to me, ship it.
It is a profound shift.
A shift from helpless petitioner to absolute sovereign.
A shift from petitioner to sovereign. That is the essence of it. But we have to add a caveat.
What's that?
Stating, I assume I have the car, is merely intellectual. And the intellect alone cannot program the subconscious mind.
It's just words.
Right. The subconscious mind only speaks one language, and it isn't English. It is emotion. This is the crucial mechanism behind the law of assumption, the power of feeling.
Ah, yes. Neville Goddard's most famous book is literally titled Feeling is the Secret. The text we are reviewing states that emotion acts as the chemical glue that attaches a conscious thought to the subconscious mind.
Think about human memory. We don't easily remember the mundane, emotionless days of our lives.
No, they just blur together.
We remember the days of supreme joy or profound trauma. Why? Because the intensity of the emotion flooded the brain with neurochemicals, searing the event into our neural pathways.
Emotion is the soldering iron of the mind.
Exactly. A dry, intellectual affirmation like, I am wealthy, has no heat. It cannot solder the concept to the subconscious. But a thought drenched in the deep, visceral feeling of relief or ecstasy, that bonds instantly.
The book introduces a very practical concept here called the emotional thermometer. How does one use their emotions as a thermometer?
It is a diagnostic tool for your future. At any given moment, you can stop and ask yourself, how am I feeling right now?
Okay, checking the temperature.
The answer to that question reveals the exact blueprint currently being transmitted to the 3D printer. If your thermometer reads frustrated and overwhelmed, you are actively planting seeds for future events that will frustrate and overwhelm you.
Let's apply this to a mundane situation. I'm stuck in terrible traffic. I'm gripping the steering wheel, my jaw is clenched, and I am furious because I'm going to be late for a meeting.
Classic scenario.
My emotional thermometer is peaking in the red zone of anxiety. According to this framework, I am not just reacting to traffic, I am actively creating my next disaster.
You are broadcasting a frequency of chaos. The universe doesn't interpret the context of the traffic. It only registers the frequency of the feeling.
It doesn't care about the traffic jam.
No. The text uses the visual of a vibrational bubble. Everything inside your invisible bubble is generating a magnetic pull. You might be listening to a podcast about peace and chanting affirmations, but if the core of your bubble is filled with the chemical reality of rage, the universe only registers rage.
But negative thoughts are intrusive. We have tens of thousands of thoughts a day. If I'm in that traffic jam, the thought, I'm going to be fired for being late, will pop into my head uninvited.
Of course it will.
The text offers a specific strategy for handling these thoughts, comparing it to taming a wild horse.
The natural human instinct, when an intrusive, fearful thought arises, is to go to war with it. We panic. We try to violently suppress it or argue rationally with it.
We try to wrestle the horse.
Right. But remember what we just established. Emotion is the glue. When you fight a negative thought, you're giving it your emotional energy. You're terrified of it.
Oh, I see.
That terror acts as the chemical glue, inadvertently bonding the fear to your subconscious.
By fighting the horse, I am actually feeding it.
You are making it stronger. The text advises a method of detached observation.
Just watching it.
When the thought, I'm going to be fired, enters, you don't fight it. You watch it pass by like a dark cloud. You acknowledge its presence without judgment, And most importantly, without emotional reaction.
Just let it drift on by.
Exactly. And once it passes, you gently pivot. You change the command and deliberately conjure the feeling of your desired state.
And this brings up a massive logistical hurdle. I am trying to pivot. I want to conjure the feeling of being wealthy or being healthy. But if I have been broke my entire life, or if I have a chronic illness, how do I know what wealth or perfect health actually feels like?
That's a very common roadblock.
How can I assume a feeling I have never organically experienced?
This raises an important question, and it is where the true artistry of manifestation comes into play. The author introduces the technique of memory and unconditional feeling.
Unconditional feeling.
You see, you do not need to know what holding $1 million feels like. You only need to know what the frequency of profound security, joy, and relief feels like.
Okay, I am following.
Think of a memory from your past that has nothing to do with money, but where you felt utterly safe and blissfully happy. Perhaps it was a moment holding your child, or a perfect afternoon on a beach, or the immense relief of finding something precious you thought you had lost.
Let's use the relief of finding something lost. The moment you find your passport the day before a trip, your entire body just exhales.
Yes, that massive, full-body exhale. Neurologically, your brain does not distinguish between an event happening right now and a vividly imagined memory.
The brain treats them as the same thing.
Exactly. If you close your eyes and mentally relive finding that passport, your brain will release the exact same cocktail of neurochemicals. You will induce a biological state of profound relief in the present moment.
I am synthesizing the feeling unconditionally. I am manufacturing the chemical glue without needing my current physical environment to trigger it.
Precisely. I mean, that is exactly the mechanism. Once you have generated that pure, unconditional state of relief, you take that feeling and you fuse it to your new command.
You attach it.
You attach the relief of finding the passport to the mental image of your bank account being full. You are hijacking a past emotion to fuel a future reality.
Borrowing the joy of the past to build the architecture of the future. That is a brilliant psychological hack.
It really is.
And this capacity to unconditionally generate feelings leads us to a profound shift in how we interact with the concept of prayer.
It changes everything about prayer.
Because if we hold the power to generate the feeling of the end result within ourselves, traditional prayer starts to look very counterproductive.
It forces a total redefinition of prayer. The source text examines the power of abundant supply, gratitude, and prayer, and it states unequivocally that true prayer has absolutely nothing to do with begging.
Which is how 99% of humanity prays. Please, God, cure this illness. Please let me get this promotion.
But based on the law of assumption, what does the act of begging accomplish? It reinforces the false ego's belief in separation.
Because you're asking something outside yourself.
It affirms that you are a tiny, helpless victim, standing outside the gates of a giant fortress, pleading with an external force to throw a crumb over the wall.
That's a bleak image.
The feeling underlying a begging prayer is desperation. And as we know, the universe will faithfully print a reality that matches your desperation.
So begging actually repels the very thing you are asking for.
It actively pushes it away. True prayer, in this paradigm, is an act of profound gratitude for a gift that has already been given in the unseen, implicate order.
The text calls this reverse transformation, or the law of reversibility. I struggled with this concept initially. Can you unpack the physics or the psychology behind reversibility?
Think about thermodynamics. We know that if you generate heat, it can produce mechanical motion, like a steam engine.
Right.
The law of reversibility states that the opposite must also be true. Mechanical motion can produce heat, like rubbing your hands together. It is a bidirectional law.
If A produces B, then B must be able to produce A.
Apply that to the human psyche. In normal 3D life, an external physical event causes an internal psychological state. You receive a check for $10,000 in the mail. That is the physical event.
And then I feel great.
This triggers a massive feeling of gratitude and relief. That is the psychological state.
Event produces feeling. A produces B.
The law of reversibility states that you can flip the sequence.
Okay, how?
If you can authentically manufacture the psychological state of deep gratitude and relief, first using the memory hacking we just discussed, and sustain it, the universe is forced by the laws of manifestation to produce the physical event that matches the feeling.
Because it's bidirectional.
Right. You feel the profound gratitude first, and that psychological state effectively pulls the physical check into your mailbox.
It is hacking the causal chain. You are starting at the finish line.
Which is why true prayer is simply dropping into a state of thanksgiving. It often involves no words at all. It is just the silent, overwhelming feeling of Thank you, it is done.
Just a state of pure gratitude.
Neville Goddard frequently quoted the scriptural verse from Mark. Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours.
Notice the tense there. Believe that you have received it past tense. It is already yours in the invisible reality, and it will be yours future tense in the physical printout.
Exactly. He interpreted these texts as flawless psychological blueprints for programming the subconscious. You aren't persuading a deity, you are commanding your own deeper mind through the medium of gratitude.
Okay, let me synthesize where we are. I have stripped away my false ego. I have anchored myself in pure I am awareness. I have ignored the dead light of my current physical circumstances.
Yes.
I have assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled by generating the emotion unconditionally, and I have expressed radical gratitude that it is already done in the implicate order.
You have constructed the perfect invisible blueprint.
So once the prayer is made,
Right.
what is my job? What am I supposed to do in the physical world on a Tuesday afternoon?
The physical logistics.
Right. And this brings us to the final and frankly the most frustrating part for a control freak like myself.
Yeah.
The power of letting go and the miracle process.
Letting go is the ultimate crucible for the false ego because the ego's entire identity is wrapped up in managing, controlling, and forcing outcomes in the 3D world.
I read the phrase letting go, and my immediate reaction is, you want me to give up. You want me to throw my hands in the air and say, whatever happens, happens. It sounds like a recipe for total apathy.
That is the most common misunderstanding. Giving up carries the emotional frequency of despair, defeat, and victimhood. If you give up, you are manifesting more defeat.
Okay, so what is letting go?
Letting go is the exact opposite frequency. Letting go is an act of supreme, arrogant confidence.
Arrogant confidence. Explain that.
Think about ordering a package online. You select the item, you pay for it, and you click complete order. Do you then drive to the fulfillment center, monitor the warehouse workers, follow the delivery truck, and direct the driver on how to find your house?
No, I close my laptop and go make a sandwich. I trust the system.
You let go of the how. You have supreme confidence that the logistics network is vast and competent enough to handle the delivery without your microscopic intervention.
Right. I don't need to micromanage Amazon.
The source text suggests we must treat our manifestations the exact same way. We hand the logistics over to what the author calls the cosmic manager.
Wait, hold on. This is where I need to push back.
Go ahead.
We have spent an hour establishing that I am the creator. The I am is the only cause. Now we are introducing a cosmic manager to handle the logistics. Are we not just reverting back to the law of attraction?
I see where you're going with it.
Are we not just rebranding God or the universe into a corporate title and handing our power back to an external entity? How does that not contradict everything we just discussed?
That is an incredibly sharp observation, and it is a vital paradox to resolve. The cosmic manager is not an external entity sitting on a cloud. It is not separate from you.
Oh, it's not.
No, it is a metaphor for the deeper, infinitely intelligent strata of your own subconscious mind connected to the implicate order.
It's still me. It's just the part of me that is vastly smarter than my conscious intellect.
Yes, your conscious intellect, the part of you that plans your schedule and balances your checkbook, is highly limited. It operates linearly.
Step 1, step 2, step 3.
Right. If you want a new job, your intellect only sees 3 paths. Send out resumes, network on LinkedIn, or go back to school.
Standard options.
The deeper subconscious, the cosmic manager, operates non-linearly. It has access to infinite variables, synchronicities, and chaotic connections that your conscious mind could never comprehend.
It sees the whole board.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you try to force the how, you bottleneck the universe down to your 3 meager ideas. When you surrender to the cosmic manager, you open the door to infinite possibilities.
So what does this all mean for my daily life? Does this mean I don't send out resumes? Do I just sit on my couch in a state of gratitude and wait for a CEO to accidentally knock on my front door and offer me $1 million salary?
It sounds tempting, but no.
Where is the line between profound surrender and sheer laziness?
The line is defined by the source of your action. The text outlines a specific flow for the miracle process. The final step of this process is not inaction. It is acting on inspired opportunities.
What is the tangible difference between an inspired action and a forced action? Because they look the same from the outside. Both involve me getting off the couch and doing something.
They look the same in the explicate order, sure, but their invisible source codes are completely different. Forced action feels heavy. It feels like you're pushing a boulder uphill.
It's driven by anxiety.
It is accompanied by mental chatter. Like, if I don't go to this networking event tonight, I will never get a job, my career will fail, and I will be ruined. The action is fueled by panic and lack.
I know that feeling intimately. It's exhausting.
It is the definition of rubbing the monitor. Inspired action, on the other hand, feels light. It feels sudden, curious, and almost effortless.
It doesn't have that frantic energy.
No, it might not even make logical sense to your intellect. You might be walking home and you get a sudden, inexplicable urge to take a different street or to walk into a bookstore you usually ignore.
And then what happens?
You follow that nudge, you strike up a conversation with a stranger in the aisle, and that stranger turns out to be the exact connection you needed.
It's a synchronicity. But I only noticed the nudge because I wasn't blinded by panic.
You were maintaining a state of high vibrational readiness. Non-action in the realm of anxiety is laziness. Non-action in the realm of the law of assumption is incredibly disciplined focus.
You're waiting for the signal.
You are actively maintaining the feeling of the wish fulfilled, waiting patiently for the cosmic manager to send you a nudge. And when the nudge comes, you move.
And when you operate this way, the book says you begin to experience miracles. But it defines a miracle in a very specific way, doesn't it?
It does. A miracle is not a violation of the laws of physics. It's not magic. The text defines a miracle simply as a natural correction in perception.
Correction in perception.
When you correct your internal perception, when you shift your invisible reality from a state of lack to a state of absolute unconditional abundance, the external world, the 3D printer, has no choice but to naturally correct itself to match the new code.
It just aligns with the new blueprint.
To the false ego, the sudden arrival of wealth or health looks miraculous. But in the implicate order, it is just the law of order functioning flawlessly.
That is a breathtaking way to look at reality. We have covered an immense amount of philosophical and practical ground today. I want to synthesize this journey for you, the listener, to make sure all these intricate pieces fit together.
It's a lot to take in, for sure.
We began by acknowledging the grand illusion. The fact that the dense physical world we navigate every day is merely a delayed echo. It is the 3D printout of our internal state of consciousness.
The explicate order.
Right. We learned from David Bohm that we must stop trying to manipulate the unfolded explicate world and instead go into the hidden implicate order.
The source code.
To do that, we have to strip off the heavy, rusted armor of the false ego. We have to silence the part of us defined by past trauma and current bank balances, and return to the pure, formless power of the unconditioned I am awareness.
Returning to a blank slate.
We realize that our physical senses are often liars, or rather, historians. They only show us the dead light of past programming. Therefore, we must deliberately ignore the physical evidence of lack and utilize the law of assumption.
We aren't petitioning, we are sovereign.
Exactly. We aren't writing letters to Santa Claus hoping for a favor. We are the sovereign creators of our own reality. We learn that intellect alone isn't enough. We have to use our emotions as a thermometer and apply the chemical glue of feeling to bond our desires to the subconscious.
The soldering iron.
We can hack our own neurology by borrowing past memories of profound joy or relief to fuel our future manifestations. We redefine prayer. We stopped begging the universe, realizing that begging only affirms our separation and lack.
It pushes the desire away.
Instead, we applied the law of reversibility, generating the psychological state of gratitude first, forcing the universe to produce the physical event that matches it.
Flipping the causal chain.
And finally, we tackled the hardest step for the human ego. We surrendered the how. We handed the logistics over to the infinite intelligence of our deeper subconscious, the cosmic manager.
We let go of control.
We stopped taking frantic, fear-based action and cultivated a state of high vibrational readiness, moving only when prompted by inspired, intuitive nudges.
It is a complete paradigm shift. It requires you to place more trust in the invisible world than you do in the hard physical objects right in front of your face.
So, to you, the listener, the next time you find yourself staring into the mirror of your life, whether you are looking at an empty bank account, a struggling relationship, or physical illness, and you feel that wave of panic rising, remember what you are actually looking at.
You are looking at dead light.
You are looking at the echoes of old assumptions. You have the ultimate power to stop fighting that reflection. Drop the eraser, step back from the monitor, and start typing a new code into the source.
And as you begin to experiment with this new code, I want to leave you with one final, profound implication of everything we have discussed.
I'd love to hear it.
We have established that physical reality is a delayed echo of the past, and we have established that your imagination, fueled by feeling, can reach out and anchor future states into your present biology.
Right, the time-bending aspect.
If both of those concepts are true, it challenges our fundamental understanding of time. Perhaps the future is not a destination we are slowly walking toward on a linear path.
What is it then?
If you can assume the feeling of the future right now, then maybe the future already exists. Maybe the future is simply a frequency.
A frequency.
It is a broadcast playing all around us, simultaneously with the present. Manifesting, then, is not about straining to create something out of thin air. It is merely the act of tuning your internal radio, your I am awareness, and your emotional thermometer to catch the signal of the reality you wish to inhabit.
You aren't composing the music from scratch. You are just turning the dial to find the right station. That is incredible. Remember, don't rub the screen, change the code. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.